Luna displaying the mares. You probably won't run so you get your money back. George, nap for Thursday.
Fancy Foundations.
Oh, yeah. Daryl?
Jericho Rock.
Oi. Jamie?
No. Sorry. Side de Burley. Nap of the week.
Frontal assault for me, then.
It is the Turner's Novices Chase, which is turned on its head. Reese, Turner's on his head. No. I think Bob Olinger isn't
The
very
GLT.
good. I'm taking Bob Olinger on. How I'm going to do it, I don't know. I was just going to lay him if Galopin Des Champs wasn't in the race. I'm now glad that Galopin Des Champs is in the race, because imagine L'Hombres had have dodged this, even if there was no Galopin Des Champs, and it was literally just Bob Olinger on his own, I'd still be tempted to lay him. I don't think he's that smart. But yeah, I'll do something with Bob Olinger. What I'll do, I don't know. But it genuinely looks like, I know Willie will shove something else in there, but it proper looks like it's just going to be a match, doesn't it? Which is insane for a pretty decent race, considering they're both genuinely very good horses. George, are you excited about this potential clash now it's happening?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to be, don't you? If you don't get excited about a clash like that, then you want to go and find a different sport to get involved in. Come off it. You don't just want to see odds-on folks boxing in, do you? I do think, like Bob, he's proven he's got the engine under the bonnet. Yeah, he's probably not improved for a fence like some people were hoping he might do, but he's not as bad a jumper as some people have made out. He's sort of corkscrewed a couple on his debut. He's made a mess of the last one. He's asked him to pop it. Next time he was sort of safe but fine. He's not flown one really, but I mean, he doesn't make up ground at his fences, but he's not as bad as people make out, I don't think. And if he's at the bottom of the hill within touching distance, I think he's just got the engine to cruise past, to be brutally honest. It's just a case of whether he can stay out of trouble up until that point.
Do you reckon they'll get racing quite away from home? Because I picture it that Galopin Des Champs, with the fact that he's got that stamina, will just go out like the clappers. Because that the Dublin Racing Festival race, they went pretty quick. There was comments on that window. Even the jockeys all said it when they came back in after. Do you suspect that he's just going to go hell for leather out in front? Bob's going to sit behind and then just hope he can stalk and pounce?
Oh. Yeah, probably not in behind. Probably just wide of him, to be honest. Just stay out of the way. Because if he is going to sort of steady into one and go a bit slowly, then he probably doesn't want to have the problem if he does fly one and Galopin Des Champs steadied into one. He's going to really throw him off. So, I mean, he's not going to take it up too early. There's no need to, is he? He's a quicker horse. Just sit there and pounce after the last. It'll
just be interesting. The only reason why I mentioned that is because Rachel Blackmore has, like, her and Paul Townend are very obviously good, like, race riders anyway. But like what she did with Allaho in that Ryanair last year, like if she makes a decision she's going to do something on a horse, then she's going to do it, isn't she? And I wonder whether she is just going to maybe give Galopin Des Champs a few lengths, not try and get next to him. So Bob Olinger's got to think about jumping next to a horse, something like that. Food for thought, I suppose. Daryl, how do you see it panning out? Of the two, who do you fancy?
It's hard to say who you fancy. If I had to have a bet,
it'd be Bob from your heart, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, no. If I had to have a bet on this race, it would. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Do long press and get your money back.
Yeah. I really don't know. I assume Galopin Des Champs will go out in front and just try and make all the running. I think they will want to put Bob Olinger's jump in under pressure. And to do that, they're going to have to do that going from the front. Look, I don't think Bob Olinger's been as bad as everyone's making out. This is the typical thing that happens every year when you get a nice horse that's won the year before. And they just try and crab every little thing. Everything he does is under the microscope. So every single thing that people are not happy with, it becomes whispers and this, that, and the other. He's a horse that's had 2 runs over fences. Like, he's a novice. He's going to improve. As much as how good he was last year over hurdles, he's still going to need time to perfect the skill of jumping a fence, you know. And people crabbing him for his jumps debut and stuff. I just think it's madness. I think it's mad. Everyone these days wants to see a performance like Galopin Des Champs, like where he goes out and he's electric and he's wonderfully impressive visually, you know. Whereas I would kind of look at it and go, well, okay, so now how does he react if he makes a slight mistake? Or how does he react if he meets one badly and then meets the second one poorly? And we don't really know that, whereas we know that Bob Olinger's got the engine under the bonnet to react and recover from them. I also think that a bit of spring ground won't do him any harm.
Yep.
Even in the jumping department, some horses capable of jumping fences much better on a bit quicker ground. Gets him out of the ground a little bit quicker. I think he's got plenty of pace. If he gets bit, do you know what I would advise? Instead of if you fancy Galopin Des Champs for this, right, and you don't want to back him at the short price, I would go and back Bob Olinger at 20-1 for next year's champion hurdle. That's the way I'd play this, because if Bob Olinger gets beaten in this, I can see them going back over hurdles, and he will go back to the champion hurdle, in my opinion. And at 20-1, I think that's a massive price. So that's probably the way I'd play it, and I'd just enjoy it for what it is, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Jamie, how do you see it?
I suppose the way I look at it, down the back at Leopardstown, the horses in behind Galopin Des Champs were good enough, right? So he made an absolute howler down the back, and people are not even picking up on it. He overjumped the fence, and if he didn't have enough scope, he'd blended in the middle of it. And I don't think Bob Olinger just jumped bad enough to see had made a worse mistake than Galopin Des Champs yet, even though his jumping looks a little bit iffy. I agree with Daryl that he needs a bit of spring ground. I think he'll just do him for a turn of foot in the end. Jump the second last. If he's anywhere near Galopin Des Champs, he'll run away with him. So I still think Bob is the best horse. I think Bob is probably the second best horse. Go ahead.
Did you see that headcam footage of Harry Cobden when he was on Brave Man's Game in the Ballymore last year?
Mad, isn't it? When he looms at
It's mad, yeah.
And Bob Olinger just goes,
yeah.
Christ.
That's what I'm saying there. If they come around the corner and he's anywhere near Galopin Des Champs, his turn of foot would beat him any day of the week, because Galopin Des Champs is called Galopin. He's just a galloper. And he's a very good horse, there's no doubt about that. But I would disagree with you, Daryl. I think Bob Olinger is next year's Gold Cup horse, but that all depends if he wins the race.
Yeah, but Daryl was only saying that if people fancy,
of course.
The thing I'd say with like Galopin Des Champs, like tactically, I think if they both jump round, like if Bob Olinger could be brave at a fence, I just don't think Rachel Blackmore's ever going to be able to ask this horse to come up for a fence. And as much as he might travel next up to Galopin Des Champs, there's a couple of flights in that home straight that they've got to jump. And if he's steadying into one and Galopin Des Champs nicks another length, and then they get to the last and he nicks another length, he may have those turbo boosters to get up the hill. But
he might always be chasing him, mightn't he? He might just always be chasing him. That's what's going to happen
anyway.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going to happen.
But it's not like he's got to flick over the top of a hurdle and then they can just carry on their stride. It's the fact he's got to go into a fence. And she's the speed that she goes into a fence with him, and the speed that Galopin Des Champs goes in there from like going into the takeoff. Galopin Des Champs doesn't need to slow down. I know what you mean about I like chases like that. Like Footpad, when he banked the fence, isn't good, but Footpad's another horse that's had an overreach injury. I love those horses that literally just fling themselves at a fence, like at all costs. I'm not slowing down. I'm just going to get over the other side. Whereas Bob Olinger looks like
he's a bit like that, Dave, isn't he? He's a bit up and over as opposed to quite flat and gaining lengths. And
there's no doubt that he's got the engine. I think if the two of them were running in a bumper, then Bob Olinger would literally just absolutely smash him up. But it would just be interesting to see Galopin Des Champs, how much he forces it in front, because in the last couple of races, even the one that he won by wide margins, he's making horses make mistakes in behind simply because they just can't go that fast over a fence. So there's only so far behind that Rachel's going to be able to let Bob get before she's going to have to either niggle him in between fences or she's going to have to do something with him. That's why I want to lay him. I'm glad Galopin Des Champs is the facts of it, but I feel like you could lay Bob. He's going to trade a bigger price in running. He's going to be behind, but it's a risky game to play when you've only got one horse taking him on, because if Galopin Des Champs goes over at the first, it doesn't really matter anymore, does it? Bob just goes around doing a schooling race. I'm buzzing for it. I think Galopin Des Champs will beat him. I just think he'll beat him. I reckon he'll just jump him out of the ground. But then, like I say, they're both novices. Like you say, James, Galopin Des Champs made a mistake. They could both as easily make a mistake. Bob Ollinger's not the most likely to make a mistake. I just don't think his jumping's very efficient. And Jamie Codd agreed with me, so thanks for that, Jamie. If you could just click the subscribe and like button, that'd be great. Should we move on?
Yeah.
The Pertemps. I've said it before, and I'll mention him again just for the sake of it. Pillion. Like, it's stupid. You probably won't win it. Daryl, you were the first one. When I mentioned this on the previews where everyone's talking about they started the parties for horses, I think you didn't get laughed at. I mean, I laughed a little bit after you said it. But Cider Burley, you gave him a good little write-up on your Betfair thing a little while back, didn't you? I think the fact that Rob James has been booked on there taking the £7 off, there's been debatable comments that have been said about that. Some people saying, never heard of Rob James. Is he any good? Is he worth the £7 he's taken off, or would you rather a proper jockey on the back? My two penneth on that, although you'd be better just placed to judge than me, is I'm pretty sure that Sire de Burley is such an old hat and such a good horse that, I mean, none of us will get the weight down. Maybe George would, but anyone could sit on the back of Sire de Burley. It's not even the fact that the jockey's good enough to be doing it. George, you disagree?
How good a ride was it from Barry Geraghty? That when he got him up in the first time, that needed Barry Geraghty on. There's no way Rob James would have won on him that day, even taking £10 off, let alone 7.
True.
I don't think he's as straightforward as, I know he's a class horse in the race, but I don't think he's as straightforward a ride as everyone's making out. It's not a steering job.
Ooh, sorry, Daryl.
Totally agree.
Oh God, Daryl, does that put you off with Rob James being on board it, although he's taking the £7 off?
This is the fucking bet of the week. This. I'm telling you now, this is the bet of the week. This horse.
All right, Mr. Man, I'm getting paid by Betfair. Go on, yeah.
This horse is effectively running off a handicap mark of 149.
49.
3 starts ago, he's rated 160, right? This season, he's ran at Navan behind Darasso on seasonal return, right? He's then gone to Leopardstown. He's never, ever, I think I said the same thing the year before last, actually, on one of yours, Dave. He's never, ever ran a good race at Leopardstown. Never in his career.
No.
Doesn't like the place, right? And then he goes to Warwick and just qualifies for this race. You can tell that by Tom Scudamore just being on, just a ride. He qualified for the same, obviously for the Pertemps, the same race, I think, back in, was it?
When he won it the second time there.
Yeah, when he won it the second time, right? And he was beaten 6.5 lengths by Silver Sheen, right? This horse was second in the Stayers Hurdle last year behind Flora and Porter. He loves Cheltenham. He absolutely loves Cheltenham, right? That was a career best on all known figures from him in the Stayers Hurdle, RPRs, top speed figures. It was an excellent run. They have had this in mind since the moment he could not beat Flora and Porter in the Stayers Hurdle from last year. He's had 3 runs since. He's effectively off 149 when rated 160. This is not a race where this could be a graded horse in a handicap. This is a bloody graded horse in a handicap, right? You can't get away from it. This is a grade 1 horse running in a handicap under his optimal conditions at the track he loves, off a handicap mark of 149. What was his first win off?
143.
145. And then what was the next one? 147, wasn't it? So he's like £2 higher than his second win, I think.
152 was the second
152. So he's
152
£3 lower. Sorry, yeah, I'm getting confused there. £3 lower than that win, right? This race is not got any depth in it whatsoever. If you're telling me the likes of Tullybeg is going to beat Sire de Burley at Cheltenham, you're taking a minute. Everyone's mentioned this Alaphilippe for this. Oh, Alaphilippe's got Stonewell in. Where has Alaphilippe got a stone in hand? Where? Honestly, he ran in the Albert Bartlett, couldn't get up the hill last year in a poor Albert Bartlett race. I know everyone fancies Winterfog. Sporting John's not going. He's going to the Stayers. There is nothing in this whole entire race. I wouldn't fancy half of these at Market Raisin on Tuesday. I really wouldn't. How the hell is Sire de Burley not a strong favourite for this race is absolutely beyond me. 5 places. You can still get around 9-1 in places. 10-1, I think, in one place. How is he out of the 5? Pick 5 horses out of here that's going to finish in front of Sire de Burley.
Do you think Rob James is full value for his £7, Daryl?
Rob James has ridden loads of point-to-point.
I know he has, but do you think he should, if he was not a claimer, would you still want him on a horse for you?
I'd still fancy Sire de Burley off this off 156. It's the fact that he loves the course. It's the fact that he's been here, he's done it. He's the class horse in the race. He's literally the graded horse in the handicap. He's running off 156. There's not a chance in 3 runs he's regressed. £11 inclusive of the claim? Like, it's madness. The horse has literally got £11 in hand, and everyone's just ignoring him. He's one of those horses that you look at the race and everyone's trying to find these sneaky little plot jobs that are going through it. The bloody horse is standing right in front of your face, and everyone wants to look at the likes of Winterfog and Alaphilippe. Like, come on, give me a break.
George?
Not a chance he's out of frame. There's not a chance he's out of frame.
Oh, yeah. It'd be
No,
Bet of the week.
Quick stat for you, Daryl. Gordon Elliott hasn't had one out of the first 5 in the last 6 years, so you may as well, you're safe with him. And to be honest, I might just end up backing all of his that have got a decent jockey on the day.
I suppose the other one, like Dunboyne, for example, we haven't seen him like fully extended, have we yet? So we don't know what he could have. I was close to backing him, right? But it's his head carriage that I don't like.
He stopped very quickly after he made that mistake last time as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was a bit like, if you're going to get a mistake, you do need to get back and battle and try a bit harder than he seemed to that day. But yeah, I thought that Dunboyne was a weird one. I thought he already had a low enough mark at the Leopardstown qualifier at Christmas that the handicap has done them a favour here by putting him up to 6, because he'd have been on the verge of, if he'd only got 4 or 5, he might not have got in. So I was surprised he didn't try and get a bit closer that day if he was a plot job, but it just didn't quite add up. Although, I mean, he could have loads in hand, and I could just be reading it wrong.
Fucking rat fakes McDougal's in here. Like, come on.
George, what's the Dunboyne fact that they need to be told? Everyone needs to be made aware of.
Yeah, the problem with Dunboyne, Gordon Elliott grew up on Dunboyne Road, so you've just got to back him, haven't you?
He's going to win, and he set him up for it.
No, but to be honest, the 2 Gordon Elliott ones, other than Side of Burley, that I was quite keen on, was Dallas picked on, and he's got 2 places in Martin Pipe, although he's got £6 on top extra from the British handicapper here, which isn't ideal. I thought he was very eye-catching in all of his runs, sort of the last 3. When he qualified in second, it was sort of Davey let him drift back and then stay on again in second, and he could have won that race quite easily, I think, but he just didn't want to get too far ahead. Then next time he's gone 2 halves in the front, and when he wasn't going to win, I think that was the one Commander of Fleet won that handicap there, he just sort of let him coast back over the final 2 flights and gave him an easy time again. And then last time at Leopardstown, he's absolutely tanked through the race, and they said he got struck into and had a swollen knee or something afterwards, but the way he's gone through that race, I mean, it looked like there was best handicapped horse in there, and he stayed 3 miles from his qualifying run, and the way he shaped in the Martin Pipes, he's the one that I was sort of most interested in. And I know you hate Tillybeg, Daryl, but I do like the one that they've put him away since the autumn. He's had his spin around the track when he's gone so wide and didn't really look interested that day. Sort of kept him away for this. You've probably got to be interested in him, and I'll probably back Dallas picked on Tillybeg, Dunboyne, and Side of Burley, just back them all each way when you're getting 6 places on the day.
And pile on. I'd pile on to that. He said pile on. Jamie, what do you fancy in the Pertemps?
I agree with Daryl, but I like Side of Burley. I've made plenty of money off him. I agree with George. He's a hard ride in my book, and he's been to the well a lot in Cheltenham. Like Gertie booted him up the hill twice. Like he was second. He's been to the well a lot. And just to get the £7 off, fair enough. And I agree with Daryl, he probably does. And a normal year and a Side of Burley from a couple of years back, yeah, £10 then big time. Does he have it now? I know it's only 3 runs he's been dropped out of Mount, but to me, he's been to the well. Look, he is the class horse. There's no doubt about that. It's absolutely bad, shocking Pertemps final, to be honest with you. But I think, yeah, I agree with George, and I know where Gordon Elliott lives, and I know where he's from. This has to win. Dunboyne for me. I suppose the best qualifier I thought all year, and I've gone through them all, was the one with Kansas City Chief at Cheltenham and Born Patriot was second. They like an old, yeah, they like an old plotty oak, the old fatties. So they have Born Patriot and Toddy Beg in the same race. So if it was for me, the old heart and head of the Burley.
No, come on, hold on. You laughed at me first, and then you said I have to back Dunboyne because it's where Gordon Elliott fucking lives.
But I laugh at you. I didn't laugh at you. I laughed about some of the fucking horses you put up, and it wins up in a fucking stand in Wincanton. Come on, lads, you got to back fucking So War of one. Way you fucking eat it.
This is what this show has now become, hasn't it? I put up Gordon the
Come here. Dave, come here. Dave, seriously. No, I won't get into it. Hold on. Actually, I have one thing, and this fella, what's his name? Jonathan Evans, right? As dancers in here in the Pertemps, but he qualified. Whatever. I'm like, sorry, no, John. I'm like, come on. If Al Dancer wins, I'll run around fucking Cheltenham naked myself.
Right. Shall we move on to the Ryanair?
Yeah, move on. Can I go first for once? Jesus Christ, I thought I was never going to be asked first. Fuck, Allaho. And each way played the race is Janadil. Full stop. Move on.
I think that is the race done, isn't it? So, no, Allaho just wins.
Agree. Janadil each way. I think could I just say, right? I think Janadil is a crack in each way bet, right? And I will just say, right, that Alaho has really got the potential to let everybody down this year because there's so many people that think he's an absolute banker.
Is he Ed Vial in the second?
Yeah, like really it is. And you think we're on day 3 here? How many hackers are going to be running onto Alaho at this point? I'm telling you.
Who's going to be on it though? Is it Tomlin or Blackmore? Is it Tomlin this year?
I don't know.
That's a good question. If I ran Rachel all day the week, but look, I think Tomlin might be on it this year, won't it?
Yeah, because Patrick rode him at the John Durkin, didn't he? And then Paul after.
Do they take turns then?
I don't know because remember Blackmore rode all the Cheapy Park horses last year over the backhill, as they call it now.
It's because Townend was on Min, wasn't he?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
that was the first time she'd ever sat on Alaho as well.
Yeah. But look, if he doesn't run up the form, which he should, and if he blows out, I think Janet will win.
Agree.
Fair enough. I reckon we'll just move on because I do like he has got the potential to spark a little bad one, but he just looks a bit of a different horse now, doesn't he? I think he's turned that bit of a corner. Right, Stairs Hurdle. I don't even think this is one that we'll have to go on for too long because I think it is fairly open. My stance on it is the fact that I think it's between Flooring Porter and Time Hill. Classical Dream, obviously, has got the ability to do it, but I still think that run where he nicked a few legs from Flooring Porter at the beginning, and the fact that Cromwell's going to get his horses ready for Cheltenham, all those bits and pieces, I think Flooring Porter will turn that form round. And I know Willie Mullins said that he shouldn't have run him that time when he ran poor, but we all talk about Willie Mullins being the master. No one ever wants to think that he's going to make a mistake before he does it. And then afterwards, when he comes out and admits that he's made a mistake, now he's starting to say that he's really bullish about him and he's all fine. Yeah, it just doesn't sit right with me. Like, I don't like him. He's too quirky. I remember him hanging his head down all the time when he was racing as well. And he was a bit of a twat when he went into open company, wasn't he? When everyone thought he was a champion hurdler. And now it's just, he's in the state. It's like a Super Sunday and he's just stick him in there for the sake of it. The Flooring Porter Time Hill, I'm going to smash both of them in the place market because both of them won't be out the first 3. They'll both probably place. And I'll cover myself if one doesn't. So that's the way I see it. Daryl? Oh, no, Jamie wants to go first. Jamie?
No, I'm going to go first in the plate.
For fuck's sake. George?
This is like all the lunatics have been out.
And George knows why. Actually, let George go first in the plate and I'll come in behind him.
I want to go first, Dave. Let me go last on everyone, please. Right, go on, George. You don't go to bed.
This Stayers looks like all the lunatics have been out of the asylum, doesn't it, really? It's like you can't really trust any of them. Time Hill's probably the solid one, but you probably think if one of sort of Flooring Porter, Champ, Classical Dream, maybe even Paisley Park, if they turn up on their best, they're probably better than Time Hill. But if you want a solid bet, it's going to have to be Time Hill. I'd agree with you, Dave. I'd have Flooring Porter turning the form around with Classical Dream after that start at Christmas. He sort of looked like he was shaping up to go past him as well, and then just kept lugging in behind. So the start's probably going to be key here. And if Flooring Porter can get out in front, I don't see anything getting past him, to be brutally honest. But if Classical Dream goes out in front and Flooring Porter's in behind again, especially if sort of Classical Dream goes up that far rail and Flooring Porter wants to lug left, I don't think he'll go past. So it's one of those that I couldn't have too strong a view until I see how they're lining up and how they're probably going to sort of get let go at the start.
Yeah, see, Willie did mention it, talk about how interesting it would be at the start. And I think they're going to do everything they can to get Classical Dream out and gone in front. It just reminds me, do you remember when Richard Johnson rode Apple's Jade in the Stayers? Like, what the hell was he doing? And like, I reckon you do not want to be going for hell for leather in a Stairs hurdle at Cheltenham. So I think the best thing that could happen is Flooring Porter, they try and wind him up, pretend they want to go on and just let Classical Dream go. And then before Paul Townend knows it, he's pushed the button and he can't stop him. And then he just ruins his race. And also, I heard a whisper earlier that Flooring Porter beat American Mike in a schooling bumper. I think that's hot off the press. I've just invented that. Daryl, what do you race? Because Jamie wants to go last.
I've not really got a strong opinion on it. I'll have a sentimental bet on Champ, but
you as deflated as me, Carter.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm very deflated after.
That was too bad. Like I kind of got after that performance being beaten by Paisley, but I kind of just got the feeling that was it. Like the journey of Champ is sort of over, and it's a bit disappointing. But it's very hard to forgive. I know you could say, well, he wasn't fully wound up or whatever nonsense you want, but like, I'm just not convinced he loves Cheltenham, in all honesty. Now, I'll just give a quick mention to, I haven't really got a strong opinion on this yet, but I'll just give a quick mention to Indefatigable at 50-1. I don't know if she's going to go here, but she absolutely loves Cheltenham and she's been crying out to go back up to 3 miles. She was disappointed behind Marie's Rock, but that was a small field race that never really suited her, being held up at the rear of the field. A real strong gallop in a Stayers hurdle, I think, would definitely suit her. So she could just be a bit of a fly in the ointment. She absolutely loves Cheltenham, doesn't she? So yeah, she's not too far off what would be required. I mean, she's rated 147, £7. She gets the £7. It's not too much to find. And I just think the race will be run to suit her, and she loves the course, so she's probably worth a little mention. If she goes here, she might go to the Stayers, but she won't win that over 2.5. I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, no strong opinion. Indefatigable 50-1. Have a couple of quid on that.
And there you go, Paul Webber. Indefatigable's got a mention in both races that she's entered in. You can send me the check tomorrow. Jamie, we've finally come to you. You wanted to go first, then you wanted to go last. Is it worth the wait?
It's all about the start, Dave, here. Like, no, but I can't see Cassidy drinking up the hill over 3 miles at Cheltenham, to be honest with you. I think he'd just run out of puff. Florian Porter, would you worry about the crowd get wound up, kind of a thing? You know, it's in the back of my head. I'm like Daryl. I'm Champ's #1 fan, but I was absolutely I couldn't believe he beat my Paisley Park last day, and I can't believe I'm being a hypocrite now. And I'm going to put down the solid option, and I agree with George. It's Time Hill, so it's like a roundabout and a roundabout again. So if I was put a gun to my head, I think if he gets to run the race, Florian Porter will win, and he'll be hard to catch if he gets his own way. I suppose the solid each way. It's Time Hill, but it's Champ has absolutely destroyed my thought on the race, to be honest with you.
Beauty. So I think we can move on from this Stayers hurdle, move on to the Paddy Plough Plate, which Jamie wanted to go first on, but then he wants George to go first on. So I'm going to let Daryl go first on it.
Yeah, I'd just like to. I like the favourite quite a lot, Celebra Dallin. I think this horse is very, very well handicapped still off a mark of 141. I think he could be a graded horse. This has been a plan for him since they got him. He's done nothing but improve. It's very, very difficult all year to come from the rear at Warwick to win, and he did it very, very cosily, albeit beating a 10-year-old wishing and hoping. But I don't think that form's as bad as people are making out. He's very much on the upgrade. He absolutely bolted up over hurdles at Haydock prior to that. And they've just been playing around with his handicap mark because they know that he's a lot better than what the handicap has given him. So I think he's got a massive chance, but I think he will drift a little bit on the day. So I'd wait for the price on that. And the other one I like is Stolen Silver at big price, 20-1. Ran an absolute blinder here over 2 miles, chasing home headed to the Geet off a mark of 140. Absolutely screamed up the hill. Headed to the Geet's now obviously rated much, much higher, 153 or whatever he is. And then they threw him into the grade 1 at Sandown behind Edwardstone, beating 23 lengths. But that track just didn't suit him at all. And then he went to Wincanton. He was a big drifter in the market that day because the ground just completely went against him. It was really dire conditions. I was there that day. It was just, I mean, it was like hammering down the whole time. And it was just disgusting, really. So I think he's been a bit of a forgotten horse. I think he's been crying out for 2.5 miles. Back on a bit of spring ground, back at Cheltenham. I think he could go well off a mark of 144. He's got previous form chasing home the likes of Eldorado Allen in All Mankind last year, and his hurdle form warrants him to plenty of respect off this mark. So while he's probably not got loads in hand, I do think he could. He'll be staying on strongly at the finish. I think he could probably go close.
Nice, George. I'll let you go next. I think you're going to mention one that I would have mentioned, but mine's very.
Are you going to say it, George?
I'm going to say it, Jamie. Is that all right?
Go on, go for it.
I'll start off by saying this looks like it could be an awfully weak race for a festival race. I mean, you look, these 2.5 mile handicaps around Cheltenham, they run them at every meeting all year round. So they've I think they've run 4 so far. And there's a couple that I'm going to mention before the one that I really fancy. And those couple, first one's Cool Cody. He's running really well in all of these all year round. He's only £2 higher than when he won one. He likes to start in front, so probably a bit bigger field, and the festival pace isn't going to be completely to his liking, but he's 25-1 and he's gone off sort of 12-1 when he won, 5-1 joint favourites the next twice when he was £2 higher. He looks overpriced with it, looking like a fairly sensible target for him. And the other one from those races is Foozle Raffles as well. His jumping's gone to pot a bit the last twice with sort of a bit of a steadier pace and been up to 3 miles as well. But when he's had a stronger pace to aim at, which you think he should get here with a bit of a bigger field and like sort of festival antics and everyone getting a bit excitable, it's been a lot better. So he's dropped £3 since those last couple of runs. He's sort of got good course form, and he's one of those that looks a solid bet at, I think he's 14's non-runner no bet or 18's anti-post with bet 365. And he's gone off sort of 9-2 and 5-1 favourite the last twice. So it sort of feels like a solid value bet. I can't really get excited about it. The one that I am genuinely excited about is Fancy Foundations for Gordon Elliott. So I've had a few heart in mouth moments with this one over the last few weeks. He's been entered and declared all over the place and then pulled on the morning like a few of his have been, and it's an absolute bastard, to be honest. But when you go through Gordon Elliott's runners, and he's probably like the trainer that I'm focusing on in these handicaps as the master plotter for them, there's not many that you think are going to run here. It sounds like Andy Dufresne's going to go for the Grand Annual, and you end up with sort of Grand Parody, who, if he did turn up here, I don't think he's quick enough for it. Then you've got Embittered's Gigginstown one, but not with Gordon, isn't he? And then you sort of go through the rest of them. Hardline's another one that's in this weekend in the Webster Cup. You've got Fakir Delen, that's another, doesn't look quick enough again to me. And quite quickly, I think Fancy Foundations looks like his one for it. And he was getting entries throughout the winter in the UK, got a mark of 137. So it's one of those that when the handicapper realised he wanted to chuck the Irish up £6 and £7, he was too late because he'd already given him a mark and hadn't run since, so he couldn't change it. And some of his form, he's the big problem with him, and I'll get this in there because it's not fair to say otherwise, is his jumping can be a bit sloppy at times. So that would have to be a worry for you. But he's tanked around some good races sort of behind Bustleton and Cheltenham. And last time, he absolutely cruised through the field from the back. And I couldn't believe how easily he made up ground against decent horses that he's going to be getting decent chunks of weight off in handicaps now. And he sort of got to the second last, and honestly, he lost about 5 or 10 lengths within 3 seconds. I couldn't believe how quickly he lost his ground. And then I'm no expert on race riding, but it looked very much like Shane Fitzgerald was giving it the all action, but pulling him back as best he could while he was doing it. And it just absolutely screamed like he was being laid out for something. And he's one that I think is sort of 20-1, 16-1. And it looks to me like Gordon Elliott's main runner in the race. And even if that's true and he's got no form in the book, he's going to go off half that price. But then you go and watch his rides and he's tanked through some of these races against like Bustleton, who's getting £8 off here, was off levels that time, cruised past him. And if his jumping holds together, he's really, really exciting bet for it. So go on, Jamie, what have I missed?
I tell you, George, you did it fucking absolutely spectacularly, expertly, to the point. He is an absolute good thing if he runs here. I don't care. It's exactly what George is saying. That race at Navan there a couple of weeks ago, where he went past Bustleton, the handicapper in Britain fucking joke, to be honest with you, giving £8 to Bustleton. Did he actually watch the race? He was entered with the My Drogo gin and lime race and was pulled out and got 137. Right, he's 131 in Ireland, £6 whatever the handicapper gives it. Right, was used to be £4, now it's £6 the Irish get, or £8. Right, the best rated novice chase run the whole year was at Navan that day when Cheltenham won, Bustleton was second, and Fancy the Foundations was fifth. And guess who was fourth? We'll get on to him later in the Muir frontal assault. This horse off 137, I would rather. George might disagree with me here, he might agree with me. I'd rather Davy Rustin in him.
Yeah,
creeping, like the storyteller won that year. Creep. This horse, if he runs, is probably the best handicap horse of the whole meeting. And I think he's the bet. And he's still 14-1. If he runs here, I'm all over.
Yes, Daryl, have you had a couple of quid on while they've been talking?
Is this the same horse that was beat by Port Storm at Ayr a couple of years ago?
Oh, don't.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah. No, not for me.
Oh, they sold it so well.
No, do you know what? Like this horse, do you know what? I remember this horse running at Hereford, something like that.
Yeah.
That Hoi Polloi.
He's no longer with us, yeah.
Huh?
Hoi Polloi died, didn't he, a couple of starts after?
Yeah. Do you remember that? Yeah, but do you remember that bumper he won? And do you remember how like excited people were about him?
Mm.
Hereford, I think it was. This foundation beat him out of sight, like easily. And then I actually tipped this foundations when he went to that air race. Couldn't believe he was beaten. I thought, how on earth has this horse been beaten here? Honestly, I couldn't believe it. He just stopped to nothing. And I've actually just been watching back his Navan run just a minute ago. I don't see it, boys. I mean, I have to watch a couple of times, but I just thought he showed similar
But
signs.
now, he wanted air on that race in air was in the bog over 2 miles 5, and nearly 2 miles 6, and he absolutely stopped. This horse needs good ground. Good spring ground.
I was just about, if you let me bloody finish, James, what I was going to say is
you actually dismissed us there, like.
No, sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I'm not honestly. I'm
trying to poke you, Daryl. Trying to poke you.
What I was just going to say was that when I just watched back that Navan run, I thought he almost came to a stop then. You know what I mean? After the second last, I didn't see the. It just reminded me of when I backed him and he came to a stop. Yeah, I don't know about that. No, because he was going at him at the second last.
No.
I don't know.
I can't. No, don't let me put you off. Don't let me put a double figure price. Christ, don't let me put you off anything.
Well, anywho, George started to talk to me about that horse before it got ended this weekend. I backed it. I just only say so because in George Hartley we trust. The Fusel Raffles that he's mentioned as well. I've talked about this horse last season. At the beginning of the season, I gave some horses to follow. I said, hopefully, I backed him any race, but I said, hopefully, he maybe disappoints over fences because he needs a 2.5 mile trip. Hopefully, his mark go down and he'd be a plate horse. Obviously, he ran in the race where Envoy fell, got fairly close to Chantry House, to be fair. Now his mark's come down to more respectable things. So I think it's a year too late for Fusel Raffles, but he's going to get a sentimental bet for me. Should we move on to the Mayor's Novice?
Yep.
Hey, right. Mayor's Novice, I have a very small view in this. It'll be one that I'll wait for races. I'll start looking at some of the form and bits to try and get stuck into, but I just never get excited about this until George Hartley said something to me the other day. Whew, this guy is the most valuable asset I have in my armory at the moment, because I was saying that I still can't let Statue Egg on her back if she runs, because she needs good ground. So Willie won't run her unless the ground's okay. But she's 20s. I can't really be making a case for her, can I? I know she won a cheap grade 1. George, can I let you go first?
You won't be saying that when you're in the gutter next Saturday, Dave, will you?
Oh, no. But should we save it? Save it. Jamie, what do you fancy in the Mayor's Novice? I don't want anyone else to pick it up. And then, because Jamie will just say, oh, yeah, I fancy that. No, you won't. Jamie, do you like anything in the Mayor's Novice?
I do, very much so.
Go on.
But I leave you go first, since you're being a smart fuck.
I've already said my case. I fancy Statue Egg.
Will you go away? Statue Egg. Oh, God. Right, go on. The porn star has to have a chance. Brandy Love, obviously, jumped right. I suppose, Dave, the two I fancy here after Brandy Love is that I had a lot of bets on, probably has no chance, but I still fancy Grungy for the race because I think it's better off a fast gallop and beat Party Central and Brandy Love when they went up the Clappers last year in the Grade 2 bumper at Leopardstown. So, to be honest with you, they're the first three. The one I don't like, and I can't understand it, look, travel like a good thing in the race. It's a lay for me. It's one race, has no experience, that's Dino Blue. Right, where is the money coming from this horse? I'm in a bog in Clonmel, so forget about it. I suppose Mayor's Novice wise, if they go really quick, but it has to be planted on the line, and it's Party Central. So we were there when it won, George, and we thought, yeah, where's it going? Carl Cup, we thought. But if you put a gun to my head, I would still be on Grungy each way.
Daryl, have you got anything you like in it? Because you did put people onto Allegora Devassi a little while back, and then she's shortened up nicely, and now she's not going to the festival. Have you decided to wipe your tears and look at something else?
I didn't back her.
Oh, no. But still, it's sad, isn't it? You had the vision to say that she was going to go win it. She probably would have won it, and now it's all gone to shit.
No, I fancy Brandy Love quite strongly, actually. I know.
We all fancy Brandy Love. Can we come back to the horse racing, please?
No, I fancy Brandy Love quite strongly. The reason Dino Blue's been well backed because it's a hot property on the preview circuit at the minute. They're all saying that it's a good thing. But, I mean, look, she's only run once. You got to, you're braver man than me taking 9 or 4 back horses run once. And now I was going to Cheltenham all of a sudden in a big field handicap, big field bears race. I like Brandy Love. I think she's going to go from the front. I don't think there's a lot of pace in the race. The jump in the left didn't really. I mean, it did bother me because it was quite so. But if you go back and watch her bumper at Fairyhouse, she hung left that day. Around the Fairyhouse, and it's 2 things at exactly the same course, and she's not shown any signs of that in her other 2 runs. So it doesn't really bother me. The fact that going around this course, you are literally constantly going left-handed, and you are constantly jumping that way. She's going to be jumping next to the wing of a hurdle until she gets down to the last. I'd be interested to see whoever rides is whether they take her to the far side of the course coming down to the last, or whether they just try and kill the race before then and just take their chance jumping straight. But I haven't seen it anywhere else other than at Fairyhouse. So whatever's going on at Fairyhouse, something she doesn't like. So I've taken comfort in the fact that she hung left on her debut on her bumper run at that course. So it doesn't bother me as much as everybody else is saying, oh, you ought to be really worried about that. Don't bother me. Patrick Mullins liked this horse from day one. I think she's got a massive engine to do what she did the last day and still get as close as she did to Allegory Devassi, who's potentially a very smart horse for the future. I think was a mind-blowing performance, really. Any other horse would have just been out the back of the telly sooner rather than later. So I think she's got a big chance. I think she's being overlooked. Don't forget, this was a horse that everybody was absolutely raving about last year. And I think she's being a bit forgotten, and the more they push their price out on this horse, the more I'm going to back her. I do like Statuaire as well. I will have a couple of quid on her. I don't actually think that grade 1 is that bad, and she's the only horse in here who's would have won a grade 1 or has won a grade 1 against the boys. My mate Mozzie next time, I know, let the form down, but was held up and obviously looking for a handicap mark going to the for the county. Far out has not done the form any harm at all. Arctic Warriors come out and won off a mark of 128. It's now rated 135. So I don't. She's not far off at all. So I wouldn't. I'd have a couple of quid on her if she remains a double figure price. And but Brandy Love the main fancy for me.
Nice. I think the key with that Statuaire, because Willie Mullins said it more than once, that like good ground is what she needs. But again, like I trust that the way he said it so many times. The only way that he'll actually let her run in the race is if he thinks she's okay on the ground. So you're covered there, aren't you, if you back her? Because in Willie Mullins we trust. George, you could say yours, and then I'll come on to my bit, because you started something. You ignited a little fire inside me, and I've been waiting until now to tell you. But I think I found one to go with yours anyway. But sell your one. I love your one.
Okay. Well, Daryl and Jamie, man, I'll take massive convincing for this one. If you're so keen on Tell Me Something Girl. So Mighty Blue ran in that race last year. Basically ran the same race as Tell Me Something Girl, but didn't quite have the same finishing kick as she did. She sort of probably travelled equally as well, if not better, and then came wide and ran by herself all the way up the home straight. And I never think running by yourself is sort of the best way to achieve best finishing position, and you'd rather be near or going through horses just to sort of give them something to run at. But the fact she's run third in this race last year tells you she's sort of there or thereabouts with what she needs to be competitive for the race of this nature and handle the track and all that. She had a long break after a few runs on the flat where she's rated 106, so she's sort of got to be the classiest of these on what we know. She sort of went with Govan a long way after 6 months off. She unseated at the last, which obviously isn't the ideal prep, but if it was a heavy fall, I'd probably be a bit more concerned. It wasn't a soft unseat. I don't think the jockey had much chance, but I'm not sure that it's going to do the horse any problems. And I mean, Govan's talked up being quite a nice horse. 6 months off. She probably wants a bit better ground than she had that day as well. I think there's quite a lot to like with the running in the race last year at 20-1, and I'm not quite sure why she's been so overlooked when she was 12-1 in it last year. And you've got like Constantisa coming back and winning it, and there's a few other second season novices, Dave, that you put me on to. I'm not sure if that's your point, but I'll leave that for you to fill in the blanks.
Before Dave speaks there, Dave, I copped her as well. I'm not telling lies. I backed her the last day to beat Govan. And the horse that I actually really fancied for this, if it run, but I actually fancied her for the Coral Cup. But if she ran here, but she's injured, would have been Glens of Antrim. So if Glens of Antrim ran here, I was 6 behind. Mighty Blue was third, and Glenn's of Antrim was 6th, had no experience last year. I'd have backed Glenn's of Antrim with this. I suppose you're right with the 6 months up the hill at Naas. Like, do you know what I mean? That day, that she looked tired on the way up, and look, this is the number one target and better ground. She's a flat horse, really, but the better ground, the better her chance. I'm just slightly worried about her jumping a little bit, but I can see where you're coming for when Contra Cisa came back and won it the year after. So, yeah, look, definitely has a chance. There's no question of that, experience-wise. But, yeah, I wouldn't put you off.
Exactly. So, George, I think you made a pretty good case for that one, and I like it. So she was straight on the betting slip. But as you said it, George, I just had a little nose around a few that were a little bit further up, and I was looking at it thinking, well, who's going to run in the race? And then I noticed another Joseph O'Brien mare, which I don't know if she's going to come or not, but it's not the same lines because she didn't run the race last year. But I started to look at the second season novices. Luna Display, another Joseph O'Brien mare. Let me just peel out some horses that she's beaten in her career. Blazing Carl was going to be a favourite for an Albert Bartlett. She beat Queensbrook. She was 1.25 lengths behind Mrs. Milner, 2 lengths behind Hollow Games, 1.5 lengths behind Chemical Energy. She ran 6.25 lengths behind Allegory Devassi, giving her £7. And then the last day, she was beaten half a length. Racing Post Comments ran on well. Too much to do. 132 rated, 33 to 1 poke. She wins the Mare's Novice.
She's another one that's in at the weekend, Dave, at one of the Irish tracks. So you have to watch out.
So yes, 2 miles 6.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
but yeah, one of them. It's 33 to 1. So yeah, hopefully she doesn't run at the weekend. But I like the other one as well. I just think the ones at the front of the market, because we talk about a few of them, like jumping and tracks they're going around and things like that. I just think the front of the market gets a bit warm. And unless there is that clear order, like Lorena back in the good old days where you get the stand-up clear favourite, I end up thinking they just get a bit too saturated and they could be selling at a price. You always get the full runners, don't you? There's always plenty of places, and we've seen plenty of horses run well at prices. So, should we move on?
she's not in Joseph O'Brien's stable tour, so that might be a good thing.
Oh,
yeah. Well, let's do 30 seconds each, Dave, on the next races.
Well, no, maybe not. I haven't got too much to say on most of them. Kim Muir, anyone got an opinion in that? Frontal Assault, one of you mentioned, didn't you?
Yeah, it's Frontal Assault for me, Dave, with the Form 9 Fancy Foundations and Sales and Age and Bustleton. I think this is what Rob Jane's taking £7 off. He got £7 tax, didn't he? £6 tax, but yeah, £6 tax, yeah. 139 he's in Ireland to 145. Rob James takes £7 off, so he's a pound well in. And look at the race the last day with Fleur and Grand Parody and Egality Mond came out during was it Monday?
Yeah, bolted, didn't he?
Sunday, bolted up. I mean, you could see in front of the stall gaining on the line, gaining. If there was another 200 yards, and that was only shy of 2 miles 5. Just front of the stall. Randall Martin Pike last year has been around the track. Rob James up, pound well in. Get on for me.
Yeah, fair enough. George, something you like in the King Muir? Be a race you'd like to get started?
School by hours, if he comes here rather than the Ultimate. He's one that's been left on his same Irish mark, so he'd be, whatever it is, running £7 different with front of £6 or £7 different front of something's in Ireland. So interesting look at there. And he's got some form with Manila Indo, conflated run well thread in previous seasons. His Paddy Power win at Christmas worked out really well and looked like he had plenty more to give that day. So he looks like he could be the JP horse, which would be interesting for me.
Nice. Yeah, I don't have an opinion in the race. So Dazzler, see us off with your 30 seconds of bliss.
Yeah, the only horse that's got £10 in hand in his compressed handicap is Jericho Rock for David Pipe. Bumped into Pat's Fancy at Chepstow's rated £18 higher now. Bumped into Sam Palais, rated £10 higher now. Then bumped into Eclair Surf, who's rated £14 higher now. All the while, in all those 3 runs, he's gone up a total of £10. He's an out-and-out stayer. This is 0 to 145, so the weights are going to be pretty compressed, and he's definitely got at least £10 in hand. So it'll do for me.
You got any concern about who might ride him, Daryl?
No, I'm hoping he goes, to be honest, because he's entered in this and the Kim Muir, and I contacted David Pipe, and he got back to me and said, he's unlikely to go to Cheltenham. Then I spoke to him at Exeter, and he said, he's probably going to go for the Kim Muir. So I don't know who's going to ride him. I'm just hoping he turns up. I don't really care who's going to ride. Well, I do care, of course I do, but I just think he's got a ton in hand, this horse. He's a very much improving 6-year-old. And the Connections won the Ultima a couple of times with Temps Patout, didn't they?
Yep.
So, yeah, he's got a good chance.
The good thing as well, I think, especially something like the Kim Muir, like when LeBroy was ridden by Jamie Codd, if the trainers really fancy one, they'll tell the big kids to get the best jocks on. So that could be a clue in itself, couldn't it? Should we give our naps then for Thursday? I'm genuinely not very bullish about anything, so I don't even think I can stump up with a nap. If I had to nap something, Luna Display and the Mares, you probably won't run so you get your money back. George, nap for Thursday.
Fancy Foundations.
Oh, yeah. Daryl?
Jericho Rock.
Oi. Jamie?
No. Sorry. Side de Burley. Nap of the week.
Frontal Assault for me then.